So the blocks for the staircase have arrived. I did think about using the Tijolo bricks that we've got loads of, but the original design that I did used blocks instead of these bricks. And the bricks aren't in very good condition, they're not very strong, so I just think it's best to use the blocks. It would have been useful to use these bricks because they're just lying around doing nothing, so they would be put to good use. But I do plan on using them as sort of infill when I pour the concrete steps. Each step won't be solid concrete, it'll have some sort of infill rubble, and I'll use these bricks smashed up to fill those. So I am planning on using them, but I think for the main supporting structure I'll use blocks. So these are 50 by 20 by 20 centimetre blocks. I bought 140 odd. Pallet is about 70 something blocks per pallet. They're pretty heavy, and where they were dropped off outside the gate is probably as close as they can get to this area, so I'm moving them by hand. Might upgrade to the wheelbarrow, I just don't want to damage them. A couple of them are actually split down the middle, which could be a good thing if I need half blocks, and I think I will do. And I want to sort of dry fit them in position beforehand, but it's kind of annoying because they're so heavy, so moving them back and forth is a bit of a pain. But I think that's probably the smartest thing to do, just so I don't cock up the block laying. Haven't got any chalk, but I found some charcoal from an art set I think I must have had since I was at school. I'm roughly 15mm lower than where I wanted to be. It's better to be lower than higher, which should be fine once I do the final finish off there. Then I can just add a higher thickness to the top. but it's only 15mm, so I'm hoping I can sort of lose that within the height of each of the steps. The blocks that I bought are a little bit wider than the ones that I thought I was getting, but they'll still work. So the actual space inside this little room that I planned is going to be very narrow. I doubt you'll actually go in there. It's more about leaning through the door and grabbing stuff. But it's going to be used for the odd garden tool and maybe a meter or something like that, some sort of junction box distribution. I'm not too sure yet. I'm just laying out the blocks temporarily. I'm waiting until it gets dark and then I'll use the laser level and mark out where I want the blocks to be, and then tomorrow I'll hopefully mix up some mortar and start laying the blocks. The shuttering wasn't straight, but you can see that it's about, at this end, what's that, about 60-70mm, and that goes down to, at the lowest point, probably 20 or 30, and then about 40 at the other end. I've lined this up with the mark that I made earlier, charcoal mark, and I'm just going to charcoal out roughly the line from here. I'm drilling holes in the concrete slab for rebar that's going to pop through the concrete blocks, and I'm mainly doing it at that end because that's the highest point of the stairs. The steps here will be quite low, so it's less likely to need rebar. I'm not really sure if it's necessary, but I'm doing it just in case. And I'm reusing, well, I'm using the leftover rebar from I think the wall up there. They used some, so I haven't got that much to use, so I can't do it everywhere. But I think if I focus on the area down there, that should add some strength. I'm using this stuff, which is basically like a chemical anchor, to fix the rebar into the concrete. I could have fixed the rebar, or I could have set the rebar into the concrete when I cast the slab, which is probably the strongest way to do it. And I would have done that if I had a bit more patience and I could plan it out properly. But I haven't done that, so hopefully anchoring them with this stuff should do the job. So I've finished block laying for the day, 8.5 blocks. Last night I spent a lot of time looking at YouTube videos on how to lay block. In practice it worked a little bit differently. I don't think I had the mix quite right, and it was quite hard to tap down on each of the corners to level each of the blocks, but I'm pretty happy with what I've done. I wish I could say that as I laid more and more blocks my technique got better or I got faster. That didn't really happen, but hopefully tomorrow when I carry on I'll get into more of a rhythm and I can start laying them faster. So I set up a string line between two stakes to begin with, and then once I did the two end bits, the corners, I moved the stakes onto the blocks themselves so I could get the level as well as the line. I've probably committed a lot of no-nos when it comes to block laying and made lots of beginner mistakes. This is the first time I've done it, so there's obviously going to be mistakes, but hopefully each time I'll learn and then I'll improve and things will get easier and faster as I do it more often. So the stairs that I've designed are fairly steep. I wanted to use the blocks as each step basically, and these blocks are around 250 millimeters high. In the UK and other countries they say that the maximum rise should be about 200 millimeters. I think in private staircases in the UK they say 220. These are going to be 260 millimeters high. The outdoor steps that we have going to the front door are 190 millimeters high. So these steps are going to be pretty steep. The angle of them is okay. I think it's about 38 degrees, which is 1 degree higher than what the internet is telling me is the perfect angle for stairs, which I think is 37 degrees. I mocked up these blocks in place and added some timber treads just to test out how it feels, and it feels okay. It's only going to be 8 steps up to the roof of the outbuilding. I've definitely been up steeper staircases. I guess I just thought that I would do this to the sort of regulation standard, and for whatever reason I can't figure out how it's turned out like this. I think what I've done, made a bit of a rookie mistake and mistaken the maximum tread length for the rise height. So I thought I was well within standards or regulations and things like that, but having walked up and down a few times, tested them out, I think they're okay, and I'm pretty happy to proceed with this steep staircase. Obviously it's not too late to turn back, but I've got the blocks now, and I've done the first row and it feels fine for me going up. I've even tried with a board to try and simulate me walking up there with a tray of cocktails or tray of wine glasses, and I think it should be fine. I'm going back to the UK tomorrow, so I'll be away from the house for about a week, so I won't be able to get this finished in this video, but hopefully by the next video it will be finished and I'll be walking up and down this staircase. Just another thing to add, the rebar that I've used, I used 8mm at the back, and then I've pretty much used scraps that I found around the house. I'm now thinking that I need to upgrade them to 12mm rebar, so I'll replace the 8mm at the back with 12 and just add more rebar throughout the whole thing, including these front steps. So this corner and this step is going to get the most traffic, I think. So I'm going to add some rebar to this first step. It's only going to come this high, so maybe it's not necessary. I'm also going to fill this one, at least this one, completely with concrete, just so it's a nice solid first step when you first get up onto the stairs. I might do that to the whole base actually.